Hello and welcome to the Blood and Ashes Wheel of Time trailer breakdown video. My name is Jody, and as always, I'm joined by Moritz.
Hello.
Hey, Moritz. And Billy.
Hey, hi.
How you guys doing?
Oh, man, amazing.
Ready to break down a video?
I'm very excited to just be full of errors, as usual.
So to continue the theme from our podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep, that's how it's going to be.
All right, guys. Well, spoiler warning first off to our viewers for at least the first two books, possibly the third. Don't quite know yet. And of course, the TV show. We will be wildly speculating, and we may just be right on a few things. We're going to discuss the trailer as a whole, break it down, and then afterwards we'll give you our thoughts on the music and the colors and the themes and extra things like that. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell, because there is another trailer being released very soon, which we'll break down as well. And you would like to be notified about that one, of course. And it also feeds the YouTube algorithm gods, so we'd really appreciate that.
Also, when the show comes out, we're going to do episodes about the show episodes. We've got plenty of other ideas for loads of videos to come. So yeah, do subscribe if you like any of this.
Right on. Shall we just get stuck into it then, guys?
Yeah, let's do this.
All right, let's look at that first image, that introduction we have of Nynaeve pushing Egwene off the cliff. Moritz, have you got any thoughts on this?
I do. I mean, there's the general thoughts going around the internet and theories is that this is part of some kind of initiation ceremony. It's, Nynaeve and Egwene. We know Egwene is studying to be an apprentice wisdom. This looks like it could be something that Nynaeve has planned. She says to her, be strong before pushing her off there. It's not like they were just walking in the forest and she just decided to play a prank on her and push her into the water. It is a planned thing. Egwene's hair is also in a braid.
Yeah.
It's interesting. And something that has been sort of cropping up in a lot of videos I've seen is that if you look at this photograph, you can see lots of color actually on Egwene's dress, which is something that we will talk about in much more detail in a later scene. But yeah, that's sort of where I've landed as well. Some kind of initiation ceremony or, act.
Yeah, that's what the hair in the braid kind of threw me off, because I hadn't noticed that before, but it is something. So this is not maybe step one. She's already a woman or part of the women's circle at this point. Vili?
Yeah, I've had the exact same thought. The dress is not clean. There is paint, and when in the later scene, when she gets out of the water, her hair is still loose, where she is now braided, and as any Emmonsfield girl does, she's tugging at it already. It hasn't taken long at all. Look at that hand on there, ready to tug it. But yeah, dirty dress. She's going to go for maybe sort of the last test. I don't know. It's the speculation is whether it's being into womanhood or into being a wisdom's apprentice. I guess time will tell.
Yeah.
Therefore, the only thing we can do is throw out our wild speculations and just let it get out there.
That is what we do.
Right, it's interesting. The expression on Egwene's face is real fear, because Madeline Madden was actually the person that jumped off that cliff into the water or was pushed.
So no stunt doubles.
No,
hey, pretty ballsy.
Right. Shall we move on to the next one, chaps? We've got an image of the beautiful two rivers, which I can imagine.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, Vili, you on board with that? Is that a two rivers for you?
That is two rivers. How I've seen it in my mind, it is I think the landscape and the areas that they filmed it has really done it justice. Again, some might be different. Obviously, everyone's eyes got its own little thing that it does, but it is stunning, man. I love it. It's brilliant.
Now, Mo, anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, those must be the Mountains of the Mist then. I know that on the Amazon website, this is something that's also going around on a lot of breakdown videos. The town that the kids are from is called the Two Rivers, or just the town of Two Rivers. So they might have sort of like squished some of the Two Rivers towns together into a single one. It's not necessarily Emmonsfield and Tarrant Ferry and Watch Hill and, Devon Ride anymore. And also there is some speculation about there's a cliff face that looks almost like a quarry at the bottom of the shot as it pans down. And you can see that same cliff face or something very similar to it in the shot of Emmonsfield that we'll get to, which makes it look like the town is actually quite close to the mountains, maybe further than we would have assumed from just reading the books.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to the next one. We go inside the town, and that's that cliff face you were talking about, Moritz. You can kind of see it there behind the wine spring, and then the mountains of mist behind it. So the previous image kind of bleeding down into this one, possibly. Right.
Yeah.
Billy, have you got any thoughts on this one?
When I saw the first photos that they released, and there was very little released from the filming. I mean, there's in total, I think about 14 photos that came out.
Wow.
Filming and that. So it's I mean, their ability to have kept this hush. But when I saw that first image and it was very much the scene, it was sort of, it's goosebumps all over, because man, how did they get this so right? I love it. I think it looks authentic. There's nothing in there that tells anything larger than a small hamlet, if even a hamlet. It's no cobblestone roads, it's all dirt. It plays into what one would get when reading the books, and everyone, so most people would want this to be quite authentic and be as close, and we know it's not going to be. There's going to be a lot of chopping, there will be changing, but hey, it could be fantastic, and that's just how positive I'm going to remain about it. And looking at scenes like this, it feels just right off the bat, so
Agreed.
I can't complain about anything at all. It's a beautiful tree, it's the village green. Yeah, the only thing that I would have said is that in my mind, it was just a lot greener. But as we know in the story, we're dealing with a harsh winter that they're still not out of. We can see the tree looking kind of late autumny still.
That's right.
I'm assuming that oak is an evergreen oak, which is not really accurate, but I'm going to give them that. I'm not going to
splitting begin.
I'm not going to split hairs about seasons and what trees have leaves in what seasons, but I'll give them that.
Right on. Mars, you got anything to add to that? I think
just that I love it. I think it looks, like Willie said, it looks quaint, it looks rustic, it looks friendly, it looks like home. I want to be there. I've heard some people sort of complain about the fact that, none of the roofs are thatched. So fucking what, right? Just
get over it.
It's okay. Yeah.
That is okay. What I would add as well is the atmosphere. And we're knowing this is probably Winter's Night, the night before, we assume, preparations for the partying and the feast and all of that. But the smoke coming from the chimneys, it's part of the scene. If you can place yourself in that scene right now, you can imagine that smells that's coming off there. Probably some spit roasting going on. I'm hungry right now.
Some honey cakes are being baked.
Honey cakes are being baked.
And cased out by Matt.
And his badger.
Stolen by Matt already. And a badger.
And then as well, if you see in the green, there's commerce going on. There's people walking around. Morris was talking about how it feels like home, and it feels like home because of those things. You can see the fires, you can see the people working, going about their business, carrying water, selling vegetables. I don't know what they're selling. Tobacco, some good tobacco, maybe some wool. Yeah. So when you think about
I would
it,
disagree on the selling. I think they're prepping.
They're prepping.
They're prepping for the feast. I definitely feel that the theme of Beltane and preparing for Beltane and having Winter's Night is still very much going to be a part of this event. It's going to be festive. It's going to be, and probably the bringing in of Egwene and Nynaeve going through this, whatever ritual that it is that they're doing, is also a festivity after that. So more to than just the seasonal change, because I would imagine having to get seasons in a short period filming correct requires a lot of CGI, and maybe more than they have. Just my few cents on that.
All right.
They have money.
They do indeed.
This is true.
And then carrying on with that theme of homeliness, the next scene is the most homely of all. We're in the pub.
Our home away from home.
Indeed. The guys are on the pints. The place is packed. I don't ever recall it being that packed, but I suppose it's festival time and everyone is there having a good time, getting a little bit on before the party starts.
The inn looks awesome. Hey, I love the candle chandeliers, the like sort of intricate carvings on the wooden columns. Everything just feels solid and lived in, and it doesn't look like a set for a TV show.
Now, did you guys see Sen Bui in there?
In the pub?
Yeah.
In the pub. If you look behind Matt, at the corner of the table is the old man, and I think that is Sen Bui.
Yeah,
could well be.
Yeah, he looks it, and it's almost looking like he's disagreeing with someone there. So
definitely him then.
I'm gonna put my money on that.
He's a well-known actor, the guy that plays Sen, and they would probably
indeed
be trying to make use of his casting.
Of his cynicism.
He's set up as the first antagonist.
Yeah,
right,
but not for long.
We also have a shot then of the three boys having a drink. It looks like they've had quite a few drinks as well. And we see a very telltale set of dice in front of old Matt there. So I think they're going straight off the bat with his gambling addiction. It's not something he develops on his journeys like in the books, but hey, there's less time available in a show. So you got to get it in early.
Yeah, a couple empty cups on that table.
That's exactly what I was going to say. There's not 3 cups. They are empty mugs. Well, we can't call them cups. They're probably an ale mug. Not from pewter. It looks like it's clay baked, perhaps, but it looks very authentic for the sort of, and I think the thing that I love to see in any piece is that does everything fit in authentically? A lot of shows do this very well, and a lot of shows do it incredibly poorly with things that look mechanically manufactured, where it was, as you can imagine, after the breaking, everything turned back into an age of pottery and smithing. And you want to see that the metal is worked metal in a forge by a smith, not something that's machined by a tool. And from what I've seen thus far, it really plays into that handcrafted items. So kudos on the people that worked on the props, because everything thus far is looking incredibly authentic, which is getting me even more excited.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, they didn't cut corners here.
No, I also like the sort of the dynamic between the boys here. Like they look like genuine friends, like Matt, his posture just, screams mischievous ne'er-do-well. And he's obviously made some kind of joke, probably about a badger or something. And Rand and Perrin both look like they are reluctantly laughing, like they know it's funny to them, but they know that they shouldn't be laughing at whatever Matt has just said or done. And the fact that they can portray that in such a simple scene, it really, really excites me about how they can really make that relationship between the boys work on screen. They have chemistry.
I will absolutely love it if he's actually talking about the badger that they caught us in the beginning of the book. It's gotta be.
Hey.
I mean, that's not a common type of prank. You don't hear about somebody catching a badger and gonna lose it in someone's room. It's
a running joke in the community. That would be one for the fans.
Yeah. If there's not a badger, I'm going to be very upset.
Won't watch the rest of the show.
Oh, that's it. Hey,
that's it. I'm out.
Talking about relationships and authentic relationships, the next scene that we go into, Egwene entering the tavern. She is now my headcanon, by the way, for Egwene. I love the casting. I love the casting for everybody. I haven't seen the show yet, so we'll have to wait until that comes out. But they're all top-notch actors. who can really portray their characters really well. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. And we have Egwene coming in here, and then Rand throwing her that little smile as well, which I thought was quite endearing and authentic as well, like Philly said.
A couple of people sort of looking Egwene's way when she comes in. I can't tell if it's Nynaeve or not, standing immediately to our right of the door as she walks in. But
Yes,
there is
it
a quick
is.
shot of Nynaeve later, also just flashing a smile at her. And even this dude sitting on the left here, he also, when the doors open, he looks around to like see her, and it's sort of like she walks in and it's all eyes on Egwene.
Yeah,
Who looks to be dressed up in her feast day best.
If you look at that very shot there, right on the right, and right by the lampshade, it is Nynaeve standing there. So she's coming in, and I would imagine she's being introduced after the event, and she's now part of whatever it is that she's gone through as what we assume to be an initiation. But how good does Madeline Madden look in this? And just the Aussie, oi, oi, oi shout out. My own little Aussie blood in there. Not that I am, but still.
Yeah, great shot.
No, but I agree as well that this is definitely some like after that initiation ceremony, she's being introduced to the town and to the people as part of the women's circle, as the new wisdom, or the wisdom in training, or whatever.
It could be the women's circle because all the characters are aged up. Right, the boys are here drinking, and they're all much older. So yeah, it could very well be the women's circle as well.
Now, I don't want to harp on the authenticity of set design, but if you look at a very, very simple thing, look at the door handle on that door. It is made by a smith. It's not a machine-made thing. You can see it. You look at the door itself, the laid in panels, the metal that is knocked through, and then what they would be I forget the technical name for it now, but it is looking so good. I mean, even if the story keeps true to only 35% of the books, if you still have that detail to create a fantasy world, it cannot be bad. We as fans of the books and people, we have our own podcasts that go really deep into this. Just to have something that's a semblance of what you read and that can just bring that to visual life for you is going to be a treat in itself. And it should be looked at the Mars candy company making a spin-off of a absolutely loved candy. You're not going to frown at it and say it's bad. You're going to eat it and you'll probably enjoy it. So just chin up, everyone.
Look, we're already savoring it. We're just looking at a photograph. And there's a whole season of the show coming.
Right, we're going to jump into the next one before this becomes a 3-hour video. We have a scene there of, is that six people? Six people on horses galloping away into the mountains along the river. Slightly different here. The colors, there's not the green. So I don't know where exactly this may be on their journey away from the two rivers after the attack.
Sandy banks, not the same as that intro shot panning from the Mountains of Mist down to that quarry wall we spoke about. So it does look, you're right, Joe, it does look slightly different. Also, I don't think Nynaeve is with them. I think it's Lan, Moiraine, and the three boys and Egwene. So if Nynaeve hasn't caught up to them yet, this is soon after them leaving Eamon's Field or whatever they call it in the show.
Yeah, I definitely second that. It's still in, and I love the mist. So you still feel that you are in the Mountains of the Mist, but it also looks like you exiting a river valley and you're getting out of it. So my money would probably be on them being sort of first half day into their journey. But yes, we did point out, as you did, Mo, that there's no Nynaeve in that shot. So she's probably still now waking up and being really pissed off that her newly initiated apprentice has just up and left.
I was just about to retire and now they've stolen my replacement. God, I'm gonna have to go find her.
There was a shot as well in one of the magazine articles. I don't know if it was the Empire magazine article, but there was a shot of Moiraine riding LD across sand just like this. So that's probably from the same scene. Okay, so we can move on to the next scene, the next picture that we have there. Moritz, I've spoken to you about this before. You have a load of information on this scene. lay it out for us.
This is a shot of who I think it's Peter Franson is the actor who's cast to play Stepan, who is Karine Nagashi's warder. This man, if it is in fact Stepan, is kissing a ring that looks like a great serpent ring. He is wearing white, which is what we know is the color of mourning in Randland. So, he's standing behind, there's a fire between us and him. So he's crying, kissing a serpent ring. He's a warder. I think it's a pretty safe bet that his Aes Sedai has died, and we will actually see evidence to that point in that direction in some of the later shots. But that's what I think this is. I think this is Karine's warder, Stepan, crying over her grave.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. There's also some,
Sorry. What is the process of a funeral for people of that time? Is it still people being burned? I mean, there's not a lot of written in the book series itself about the various people in their regions and how they lay to rest their departed. For me, if I look at this, it would appear that it's a cremation of some sort of thing. Now, if I didn't know, or because up until now I've been not focusing so much about the TV series and look at who's cast for what role. And in my mind, when I looked at this the first time, I'm like, oh, surely that's Lance's dad in some sort of throwback, giving him the ring in the crib while he's expecting to die.
Rand's dad. Throwbacks.
Lance's dad, yes.
Oh, Lance's dad.
Lance's dad, yeah. That's what I was just looking at it the first time. I was like, oh, maybe that is when he gives him the Malkiri ring, because my mind's eye of the serpent ring was a very delicate and fine ring. Just a snake around a finger biting its own tail.
Yeah.
With that, it was a very big Aes Sedai ring. It's a noticeably
a big topic of discussion around a lot of the imagery that's been released, even from the stills, is that the serpent ring is much bigger in the show than what it is in the books. In the books, it's just, a thin serpent around the finger, where here it's much more elevated, and there also seem to be colored stones inside the ring that represent the Aja that people are from. So later when we see Karine healing Moraine, you can see her green stone in a ring exactly like this.
Yeah. When I first saw this image, I thought Lews Therin. It was a man dressed in white, looked very elegant, had an Aes Sedai ring and a man with an Aes Sedai ring. Like, I didn't even jump to water. But now that you've mentioned, obviously that is the same actor playing Stepan. So now that I've like looked it up online, I'm like, oh yeah, okay, never mind.
Also, he's very, very sad, just like old Lews.
Exactly. And there has been a casting leak as well. Lews Therin has been cast already. So, and he looks nothing like this guy. The complete opposite.
Yes.
All right, then we jump to that next shot in the trailer that we were speaking about earlier, of Egwene coming out of the water with all the colors on her. And if you lighten that shot up a bit as well, you can see in the background there's some people standing behind her. So it looks like she is in some sort of ceremony, and her hair, like Willie mentioned, being unbraided there. So this possibly before that previous shot where she's being thrown off the cliff because she's wearing the same dress.
Exactly. I was about to say exactly the same dress. And you can see here where the yellow and green dye or paint is sort of floating on the water. It's the same part of the dress that has a yellowish tinge to it when she's coming off the cliff. There are multiple sort of color stains in the dress when she's coming off the cliff there, and they align with where these are. So I think it's fairly conclusive. I thought that maybe some of these scenes, if not all of them, are actually playing out in her dreams. I mean, Egwene is a dreamer. The reason I thought that is because of the symbolism in this shot. I can't marry up the idea of the 7 colors of the Ajas, which these are unequivocally. They would be forming part of a coming of age ceremony in Eamon's Field. Like, why would the Aja colors be included in a sort of like a real small town ceremony? Some people have speculated that, just because of the presence of the Aes Sedai, they might be in the show trying to show the cultural impact of the presence of the Aes Sedai, and how some of their iconography or imagery or themes might have infiltrated other cultures in other ways. I mean, Moraine also in her speech as Egwene is floating down the river talks about how other people call the one power many different things, but it's all the same thing. It's one power. Sort of alluding to the fact that there are different interpretations of aspects of the power and how it's used. So I don't know why the Aja colors would be here, but one explanation could be that maybe Egwene has a weird dream about emerging from a pool covered in all the colors, and the wording used at this point as well. It's like, and legends will emerge or something like that. And as she's getting out of the water, I mean, she is a legend.
Definitely.
Look, the way that they could have cut the story or edited to fit into what would be an impossible thing to do in a couple of series is the immensity of this book series. She could have been recognized as a person with the spark and have gone through a ceremony to be handed over to go for training. That is a possibility that we can float out there. It could be wrong. It could be right. I mean, at this point in time, like we said, everything is wild speculation. So I might as well speculate wildly about this. But if you look at the 7 colors, they're there. She goes through a ceremony. They could have their own little thing for a woman that is identified to have a spark. So at this point in time, she might even know that she has got the ability to channel. So I don't know. It is something, but I mean, let's touch on the scene and not the symbolism behind it. I nearly said it. It is absolutely beautiful. She looks serene. She looks just whatever she's gone through she's taken it in. It's man, it's a beautiful shot. I've seen a lot of digital artists on the interwebs taking this and already doing art of it, and all of it looks fantastic. It's going to be a good thing to see. Like, this is great television.
Already
2 minutes in, guys. 2 minutes we've seen it. I'm already, this is the best show ever.
So good.
And then we jump over to that next shot of the sunrise over Tar Valon, with the tower there in the background that you can see. Not much to talk about this shot. If anybody has anything to add to this, but yeah.
No, it's just early morning Tar Valon.
Yeah.
No one in the streets yet. Sun's still coming up. Early days.
Yep. Early days. What I will say is that, and we're going to see it in the next shot when you see the sort of expanse of the island and Tar Valon, it's, in my mind's eye, I just imagine it to me more dainty, ogier work, like fine and delicate, where this seems a little bit heavy, but not criticizing it. It's just different to what I dreamt of, type of thing.
Yes. I mean, it's described as such in the books to be like, I mean, the buildings look like shells and crashing waves. It's not this at all.
No.
But if I'm perfectly honest, I've always had trouble actually picturing what a building that looks like a crashing wave would look like. Practically, where's the door? How do the windows work? What does that actually mean? It's a very nice thing to say in the text. Okay, you're the reader, you figure it out. Picture it.
Hey, Moritz, what I would give you a bit of advice: if you hop in your car and you travel just a little bit south in Sydney, you'll see a building. It's got like shell-shaped roof. It's quite a popular one, almost like that. The Sydney Opera House.
Mean, is it the one that looks like maybe the inside of a whale's mouth? Or
yeah, that one.
Yes. Okay.
All right. It's easy for everyone to identify now then. And then, like Willie was saying, moving into that shot, like we're going through the streets at sunrise through Tar Valon, and then the camera pans out and we see that magnificent and my most favorite image of this entire thing. The landscape there of Tar Valon, the White Tower, Dragon Mount in the background with a little bit of smoke coming out of it. Love it, love it, love it.
Amazing.
Yeah, but now we're alluding to the most beautiful mountain in the background, which is very significant. I mean, we all look at the White Tower and yes, it's stunning. I love it. But that mountain at the back, that is the one. That's what you want to see.
It's the same mountain in my background.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
and mine.
Yours is just spewing anger.
Yes. Mine is shortly after Luz made it.
Yes,
Yeah.
recently made. And then we have a shot of Moraine coming into what I assume is the wine spring inn, because there's some boots before that, which could be hers or not. But I
Looks
imagine
like an
this is
establishing shot.
Yeah.
Boots, and then she's also very out of focus before, like it focuses in on her face slowly before she takes off her hood. So it looks like a sort of introductory shot.
I would definitely say that the ability to cast someone that lives up to the ageless look of an Aes Sedai would inherently be a very difficult thing to do, because you cast a young actress in a role and she wouldn't look experienced and have that wisdom in her face. And I think they have done incredibly well.
It's exactly what I was going to say. Can we just talk about how great a casting Rosamund Pike is for Moraine? She has not taken over my head canon yet. I still imagine a much more diminutive Moraine in my head when I'm reading the books, which we are currently doing. So it's very fresh. But loving the Rosamund casting for Moraine. I've heard some people say, "Oh, this is not my Moraine," but I don't get that at all. She is a real presence on the screen, and just like real Moraine, demands attention and respect. You know, like in the books, whenever Moraine walks into a room, everyone's like, you know exactly who's in charge in a room, despite her being the smallest person in the room. And Rosamund conveys that without speaking easily.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, I mean, we have at least 17 years ago, we would spend a lot of time, the three of us, speaking about if this was ever to be turned into a show, who would we cast? And Egwene has always been my thought. My canon has always been, and the name eludes me now. She married Tom Cruise.
Oh, Katie Holmes.
Katie Holmes, yes.
Yes.
So, I mean, obviously, that would be a terrible casting now. So, I mean,
yeah. Jodie and I also, when we lived together for a time as students, would spend hours talking about like what our fantasy casting would be for a Wheel of Time show. And I had always maintained back in the day that casting actors would be a good idea, but the series is so long, they're going to have to make it an animated series. You know, that was what I thought someone would eventually do so that the actors don't age out of the roles. But these guys went the other route and just condensed the story into, what is it going to be, 8 seasons, I think.
Yeah. Still 8 years is a long time. I also think that this scene of her coming in, I think they're going to shift the focus of the attack of the Trollocs, Beltane, that winter night, into more what's happening inside the town, because we were focused a lot on what in the books of what Rand is doing at that moment, and he gets to town, everything's over. But I think that the show is, because that's obviously on the screen is much more dramatic to introduce new viewers and new fans to the show by showing them like that's how the show starts, like episode 1. It's going to be insane, and I'm glad about that.
So,
all right, shall we move to the next scene then? We have Egwene floating down the river in a kind of surrendering pose. What did you say?
Surrendering to a flow of a powerful force.
Ooh.
Perhaps even, yes.
That is, wow.
Moraine's voiceover at this stage is also talking about the one power.
Yeah.
So it all sort of syncs up.
Yeah, so this could be a continuation of that shot where she jumped off the cliff, or before she gets to the pool where the colors are all over her. It's all wild speculation.
I would say that this is a continuation of the pushed off the cliff. If you look at there's a specific shot where they show sort of a drone view over the river, and you see the river running sort of in a condensed, compressed channel. And if you look closely, you can actually see her fighting the current in there. If you go over it tonight, you'll see she's fighting and swimming, almost being taken in a swirl where the water sort of creates a whirl. And I think, or I believe, or I speculate that this is after sort of when she's sort of, okay, I'm not going to drown, I'm surrendering. And all of that plays in as one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some very obvious symbolism, but very effective.
Very effective indeed. Incredibly effective.
Yeah, then we go from this one shot of Egwene surrendering in the river to this other magnificent shot again of the hall of the sitters in
Yeah.
the tower. Whoa. We're going to have to
Yeah.
break this one down. Like we get a shot from behind the Amyrlin seat's throne is the only word I can refer to it as.
Mhm.
We have Leandrin in the 3 Aes Sedai in the middle there. We have Leandrin, Moraine, and the third one, Moritz, I forget now.
Lana.
Alana.
Yeah.
Osvani, that's correct.
Mhm.
Mm.
All right. We have a bunch of other women. We can see all the sitters there sitting around. I suppose that's why they call them sitters. In their Aja colors all around. I like the fact that they're going with the TV show. Everything is so super visual. You know, you have it in when you read the books. You have like they wear maybe a colored stole or something to denote their Aja colors. But I suppose in the series you're gonna have to show like the white Aja. You could pick them out a mile away. Definitely white Aja there.
I think you'd be surprised how often they actually wear dresses of the color of their Aja in the books. I remember that being a thing. I mean, obviously seeing it, color being a visual stimulus, you know, like it is a lot more arresting. And the vividness of the colors is noteworthy, right? Like it's bright reds and bright blue, and it's only really the grays and the browns that get left behind with some pretty ordinary looking clothing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like it. And I mean, for watchers of the show that have not read the books, it would be much easier to keep track of the
For sure.
multitude of characters if you know, oh, who's that blonde lady? Oh, she's wearing red. That's Leandrin. I'm supposed to hate her.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you're new to the show and you're watching this video of ours, Leandrin, the one on the left, you have to hate her. All right. Just
Yes.
heads up.
Yes. Yeah.
Hate is such a strong word, Jody. Hate is such a strong word. But
Apt.
the beauty of the scene for me again comes into the architecture. This is how I envision Ogia's masonry work to be. Fine, delicate, intricate. You see a lot of detail in the stone all over the shot, down to the columns, the window frames, even the throne seat itself is out of what you'd assume something like marble to be, and very, very finely worked. So for me, again, stunning, amazing. Think it is brilliant.
Yeah.
You can see a lot of that that intricate design that you're talking about in the next shot, where we see Swan sitting on her throne there. And if you look at the detail, it is incredible. That's if you look behind her at the seat that she's on. And her dress as well. A bit of a, I don't know, this seems, I think maybe it's just because because it's an official sitting of the hall that everyone's so dressed up. Because as you know, Swan being from a fisherman's family, being poor, this is not typically the way she dresses. But there are some shots later on of her in more regular clothes. But this dress is really over the top, and the tattoos on the chest. Yeah, and the tattoos on her chest. I don't recall that being part of her character in the books, but
I'm gonna go with that. Those are tattoos she had before when she was still living in the mall.
Yeah.
Back from her fishing days, because we did notice that it almost looks like a fish in the center of one of those designs.
Yeah.
But I'll point out the beauty of the seat itself, and it reminds me a lot of the Taj Mahal in India. That very fine sort of curves and arches, and that just plays into that Ogia stone masonry work for me. It's again, set design is so important in these type of fantasy pieces, and I'll probably say this another 10 times in this video, but this it works, and it works well.
Even the detail of like it not being just plain white, like if you look over her left shoulder to our right, it seems almost like, you know, marbling from the stone or something. It's not just a uniform color, so it doesn't have that manufactured look. But something else I've noticed is that not a lot of Aes Sedai symbols around.
No,
I haven't seen very many flames and fangs.
It's true. She's got a dirty chair, but no symbols. Gotcha.
No, it's a clean chair. That is just marbling, literally marbling of the marble.
Marbling of
water
the marble.
damage from the leaking shower upstairs.
Ogia stonemasons need to come and fix that, man. Come on.
You need to bring the Ogia plumbers back.
They're a whole different sect.
Don't talk about them.
No. Well, then we move on to that shot of Moraine with a giant hole in her getting healed there. So I'm
Sucks.
speculation there. Perhaps in some attack later on or earlier on. Maybe a sword wound, or what are your thoughts on that, Vinny?
I'm definitely okay. So there is a scene where Lan carries her out at Shadow Logoth.
Yeah.
No, whether that is because she channeled and in the books, before they reach Shadow Logoth, they are attacked from all angles by Trollocs. And I think 4 fades. I think it was 3 fists and 3 fades or something of the sort. So whether she was tired from the channeling, which was the event in the book, or whether this is an injury that was caused by a different attack is obviously speculation. But she's got a nasty gash in her chest, right above her heart, I would say. So that's almost the life-ending one.
Yeah, and the Aes Sedai healing here is Karine Nagashi, who we said earlier, the weeping warder is her warder. So this is where the chopping and changing of the scenes start needing some sort of rearranging for us to sort of make sense, to place it all in the timeline. So the theory that I discussed with you guys before is that I feel like maybe Moraine, like you said, Vil, from that promo photograph, because it's not in the trailer where Lan is holding Moraine in Shadow Logoth.
Yeah, that's in one of the photographs.
Photo. Yeah. So maybe she is injured either in Shadow Logoth or in the fight leading up to Shadow Logoth. I mean, they're going to need a reason to go to Shadow Logoth in the first place, and being attacked by a bunch of Trollocs who are afraid to go in there is a good reason to go. So either she's injured in that fight or in Shadow Logoth in the flight from Shadow Logoth. But my theory is that after the party is split up, she and Lan and Nynaeve meet up with the contingent of Aes Sedai who are busy transporting Logain, and we'll see more images later on that sort of support that narrative. And here Karine is still alive because, like I said before, we think that she dies in one of those shots, which would explain Peter Franson's character crying over her grave. So this is somewhere between Logain's followers attacking the party after Lan Moraine and Nynaeve have joined them, and after maybe the Shadow Logoth, because we know that where this Aes Sedai camp is, Rand and Perrin and Egwene are not there, and Matt.
Yeah.
So that's where that injury could come from.
Anyone want to point out, obviously, how they have now visually brought in the flows? And what was quite nice for me, and when you do healing, you use a lot more spirit. And this is flows coming out of her, where in Moraine has the battle with the Trollocs in the scene that comes towards the later end. All the flows come out of the mountain into her. So and we know she's strong in earth and fire, and though she's not so strong in spirit. So it's quite interesting that I think they'll have a visual representation of what, and now the criticism has been that it's not colored or in visual colors. But I think more of it's going to stem sort of, where does it pull out of? Does it pull out of the earth and you are channeling more earth? Is it pulling out of water, for instance? And in this case, spirit coming straight out of a chest. So that works for me, and as just pure speculation at this moment still, but that there is, again, straight out of her. And if you think about if you believe in these things, that you have a spirit and all of that, not all people do, but where would you have your spirit? You think sort of in your chest. It's kind of comes out of your, if you go back to a lot of books where people's spirits are stolen, like it's the quickest one to reference Harry Potter, where the Dementors steal your spirit, it sucks it out of your mouth, and it's the same sort of white flow coming and getting sucked out of you. So that works for me. It works very well for me. I don't necessarily need to see ribbons and ropes coming in different colors to, okay, cool, that's what you're doing. Let's more look at where it's coming from.
What I'm interested to see is how they, or if they differentiate between Saidin and Saidar, because all the channeling we see in the trailer obviously is of females channeling. And when, the males start channeling, if that is represented differently, it would be cool if you could see like a taint or something, that would drive the men mad, or if the lines are more jagged instead of, flowing like wisps of air.
We do have that scene when Logan busts that power and kills.
That's true.
And if you look at that now, what happens there? It looks sharp. It looks a bit jagged. It's not like a smooth thing. So we're going to get there. So let's get there and have a little look at that difference. Yeah.
Just one last one. Did you see Kareen's ring here? Is that much bigger ring than in the books with a green stone in it?
Yeah.
It's huge.
I'll again, just a very, very quick one. Set design and props. A very roughly woven pillow. One would think pillows always to be soft and very finely woven, but this is again for the material and for the equipment available of that age. It suits, it fits. So I'm not going to harp on too much of the props and too much of the.
Yes, you are
trying my hardest. I really am. And looking at it, she's not in a big bed. It's not in a place.
No, it's like a cot.
Sense that they're still traveling. It's a bit of a cot with minimal things. So it plays into that attack happening at some point during the transportation of Logan.
Yeah, and I will say you've just triggered a thought that I had not considered before, that if this is an encampment while they are traveling with Logan, this is obviously quite a ostentatious camp setup for Kareen, but she is a sitter of the hall. She is also missing from the shot of Moiraine, Leandrin, and Alana and the other Aes Sedai standing in front of Swan and the ambulance seat. So maybe she does travel quite comfortably, old Kareen, for a short time anyway.
Really, you've convinced me about this flows coming from different places, and we can see exactly that in this next shot of Eamon's Field at night. The flows coming from outside, from the mountains, from the ground, from all over the place.
Well, she's channeling lightning here, which is air.
Yeah,
it's coming from the air, but you can see there's flows coming from the fire. Fire at the right bottom corner. There's a flow coming, two flows coming from that fire. Left third of the strip, there's another flow coming off that fire. And then you've got all of them going into the air and into the mountain. So that works for that works for me. It's
amazing.
For me, it's almost head canon already that's how they're going to visually represent what is being done. The flows and the weaves coming together. It's brilliant.
That's awesome. I did not pick up on that, and that is a cool theory, and I hope they do actually do that.
Rafe, if you're watching this, just confirm in the comments if we're right or not.
Thank you, Rafe.
Cheers, Rafe.
Now, Billy, tell me, what do you think of that tire swing?
Man, all my life I had a tire swing, and I'm just wondering where they got that tire hanging from the tree. Now, it's probably not a tire, but it looks like a tire swing. It's the only thing my eye can see.
My eyes are going to be peeled during the show every time someone walks past the tree. Huh? What?
Where's the tire swing?
Wait, pause.
Yeah, man. Well, we jump over to that next shot then. And this is that shot of the Reds. And the Reds look mean. You don't want to mess with these Reds. Leandrin, of course, in the middle.
You don't.
Just a horrible human being in general. But the other two, I don't know who they are, what characters they are playing, but they look intense. And this, from the background with those rocks, this might be on the road again in that scene where Moiraine and Lan and Nynaeve hook up with them. Maybe this is them meeting or them facing off an attack or something like that.
That's what I thought. This could be them actually, like Moiraine and Lan and Nynaeve meeting up with them, sort of like them emerging from the forest and them going, what are you doing here? Leandrin would have no love for Moiraine.
No, not at all. And there's no love in her face right there. So whatever she's facing
there's
down,
no love in her life
at all.
So harsh. Dark friend.
She's awful. She's so awful.
I'm going to go to the next scene.
Please.
Yeah, I've heard enough of Leandrin. There, all right. Leanne or Liana, as some people are pronouncing it. I've always pronounced it Leanne, the keeper of the chronicles there. Stomping her staff to get order in the hall. I imagine she's trying to get order. She's not introducing the Amryn or anything like that. Just everyone shut the hell up, because that face is a thundercloud.
Yeah. This could be after the contingent of Aes Sedai that we saw in front of Swan are fronting up after sort of maybe Logain escapes or Kareen has died, and they sort of have to please explain to the Amyrlin what happened. They're reporting back in front of the hall, and something they said could have sent the hall into like a tizzy, and everyone's like talking over each other. And Leanne is going, order.
Some talk about the Dragon Reborn, perhaps. That's disturbing everyone.
They are very.
What do you call?
Surely they are going
that a judge uses
a gavel.
A gavel. She's doing the gavel.
Yeah.
I was going to say, surely they are going to prop up Logain as the big bad in this season. He's going to kill an Aes Sedai. He's a man that can channel. They will put the fear of God into everyone that considers a man channeling.
Yeah.
They would want to keep the reveal that Rand is the Dragon Reborn away from viewers that are new to the series, because it's pretty telegraphed in the books, right? Like 90% of the point of views in book 1 are from Rand. So he's the first person you read about after the prologue. It's pretty much like, okay, he's my protagonist. Where the trailer in general has had very little Rand in it, right? Like it's the vast majority is Aes Sedai, Egwene, Nynaeve, setting up the female power structures, which we can talk about again at the end of the video when we talk about the whole thing as a whole, but it's world building and not lots of Rand. So I think Logain is going to be like the bad guy.
I think he's being framed as almost the dark one initially. Very few Forsaken at this point in time still.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I think that my theory is that most of the footage from this trailer come from the first 3, maybe 4 episodes.
Yeah. That could be right.
Imagine how good that's going to look.
And also, Forsaken are always in disguise, so they could literally be any one of these people.
Missana could be sitting in the back of the shot.
Maybe she's in this. Maybe she's in this.
Lanfear is casted, eh? So, sorry, Joe, I spoke over you there. Lanfear has been casted in season 2 now.
Okay, so who did the showrunners decide is the best looking woman in the world?
She announced herself on Twitter, and I think she outed herself in putting in actress as Lanfear in Wheel of Time, and it was in my feed in there, and there was no real pictures of her. And don't ask me to go and find it again now, because I'm not going to be able to find it. It was a late night browsing through Twitter, and I was like, oh, right, Lanfear's casted, so she's busy filming. So,
well, then there goes all the Celine subterfuge. All the viewers are going to be like, Celine, that's not your name. Come on, Lanfear.
Yeah, she's just giving us.
We see your silver belt.
Yeah, if they don't have that silver belt, I don't know, man. It's not her then. Well, let's jump over to that next scene. Then we've got the whole group and the camera like looking down on everybody. This is, I would assume, them being attacked. That's when the Dragon Sworn are trying to free Logain, which causes him to kill the Aes Sedai and attack back. And we got a bunch of people there. Moraine isn't there, notably.
Nope.
All right, so she must be still in that cave or tent or wherever she is, being healed or recovering or something like that. But
Kareen's also not here. Neither is Leandrin.
All right, so we got the 3 Musketeers are missing. We got Lan there protecting Nynaeve.
Logain later, he is shielded by Leandrin and Kareen, which is why I think they're not in the shot. I think they are sitting with Logain shielding him. But yes, Lan protecting Nynaeve, already acting on his little impulses.
Love.
Yeah, but you can see a lot of those familiar faces there. On the left, we have those same 2 red Aes Sedai as we did in the close-up shot of Leandrin. And then to the right. Oh, yeah. And then on the right there, we got the other Aes Sedai with the awesome hairdo, with the like afro style, because she pops up a lot. I don't know who she is or who she's playing.
They're also all in front of the Amyrlin in that shot of the hall.
Yeah, that's the one.
And that's Stepan with his 2 axes.
Yes, I love the 2 axes. I love the fact that not every warder is a swordsman. Some guy they have specialities, and that's great.
Yeah.
Well, it's you've got, is it Ivan or Ivo?
Ivan.
Warders.
Yeah.
He's got a bow.
Yeah.
So there's a good mix of weapon use that stands out. What I would like to point out here is the flows again. And in this one, it gets pulled out of the ground. The flows that she's obviously creating a stop. It looks like it's coming out of the ground in this instance next to her. But it could also be out of the air because she obviously want to hold it with air. So again, it looks great. It works for me. It works very well.
All right, should we jump to the next one? There it is again. Beautiful. From the sky, we see the river. Now, depending on whether the sun is setting or the sun is rising, that's either North Harbor or South Harbor. But we'll never know until we watch the show. But I do like the Ogier Grove. Now, if that is in the same position, then I think we're looking at South Harbor. I don't know. Yeah.
I'm going to go with South Harbor.
In the book, the orientation of the island is weird because they always depict it, the island running north to south, but the compass indicating north is actually at a much different angle. Like the harbors don't point directly north and south. They point northwest and southeast.
We've had a very elaborate discussion about this in the podcast already, so go pick up on that a bit later.
Yes. Should have called it East Harbor and West Harbor. What the fuck are you doing?
Yes.
I don't know. It's people.
But just
we did come up with a good answer.
Harbor.
You guys did it.
This is the first shot where I have got a little bit of disappointment out of. And
because of the bridges.
In the bridges.
Yeah.
The bridges are something that is made with a power almost. It's that beautiful and thin. And we don't know where the white bridge will be featured in the show at all. And I can probably think that it's going to be something that will be cut. This is a small criticism that could have easily been fixed by some sharper CGI or just design to have those bridges look wafer thin and very dainty, but it also plays well into the balance of the architecture. So you can't take one thing and make it that, and then it doesn't balance well with the urban design of the set. So
look, the set designers would have had a reason for doing this because everything they made, they start with the text from the books as a starting point, and it's pretty clear how they are described in the books. They are supposed to be sort of these like physics defying wafer thin like glass but rings like steel when you walk across it, that sort of thing. And like you wouldn't expect there to be a support in the middle of it. You would think the thing would just span the river because it's a magic bridge. It's called spade a spade. It's magic. So yeah, but again, maybe it helps ground everything a little bit more. Don't know, not a big issue, but I had the same feeling, Will.
Yeah, oh well, it's still it. More importantly, it blends in with the rest of the design, so there's balance.
Yeah,
it's all about balance. Moving on to the next shot, we have this view coming down the side of the mountain with Matt and Rand, I would imagine, because in the distance, that, although is not anything like we've read, that is Shadow Logoth, right?
Yes. That's what I think.
Yeah,
they're busy walking towards the camera and they are looking back. Like when the shot is in motion, I think Matt is the person closest to us. He's busy clambering over the rocks toward the camera here, and I think Rand is looking back. The fact that Rand and Matt are the only, it's not Egwene and Perrin. I don't think. Doesn't look like them at all. It looks much more like Rand and Matt. And if you've got just two of the Emons Fielders traveling together, it's likely to be very soon after the split at Shadow Logoth. So, on the timeline, it makes sense for them to be near Aradol or Shadow Logoth. I think in the show, in the episode names, it's like episode 3 or something. It's like Shadows Waiting. It's very early. Yeah, which is great. And when we did the podcast, we were also shocked at how soon they actually arrive in Shadow Logoth, right? So it's early days. So I think this is that. And really, when we spoke about it the other day, you also mentioned that it looks like that wall is exactly the same as the wall that Egwene and Perrin are running along, which we will get to later as well.
Yeah, that for me, there's no doubt they're looking at Shadow Logoth, which a bit of a surprise for me. My vision, or what I envisioned for Shadow Logoth, would have been sort of an overgrown in a foresty section. But again, it is a very, very large ancient city that is deserted. So big cities don't appear in valleys and mountains. It's in open areas, flat areas mostly. It makes sense that there's a river running right past it, because a major city would have had trades on the river and ports. So all of that very, very well ties in with it. And in the story, as we know, and as you pointed out, Moritz, the boys do, and the team gets separated here, and it is Rand and Matt that is separated from the stage. So yeah, that all tracks very well.
Notably, no Tom with them.
Yes. Yet.
In the books, they escape down the river with Bail Domon, and Tom is with them. No Tom in any of the trailers so far.
Ooh, Tom. Anyway, so this is after Shadow Logoth. They've escaped. They're going on their separate journey. So this is Rand and Matt going on their little side quest. We've got Egwene and Perrin will meet up with the Tinkers and the Wolves. And then we've got the other one. We've got Lan and Moraine and Nynaeve that will eventually hook up with the people with the Aes Sedai that are taking Loghain back to Tar Valon, I imagine.
That's what I think is happening here.
Okay. So let's move on to the next one. All right.
Well, just before we do, Joe, sorry.
Yeah.
Vili, your comment about the city being in a forest and stuff, that city is really far away and those walls are huge. For all we know, there is forest or jungle all the way up against those walls. You wouldn't be able to tell that from this distance. So it might still be a bit of that.
Right. Could very well be. All right. Now we'll move on to that next shot. Rand in his fantastic woolen jumper with his bow and arrow, sheep herder deluxe. Where this could be, that's even more speculation. It could be Beltane Festival.
Got a theory.
Got a theory, Moritz? Lay it on us.
This is not my own theory because I missed this in the trailer completely because it is like it's the blink of an eye. I think this still is the first frame from that scene, but there's a man and a horse over Rand's shoulder. That could be Tam and Bella on the way to town for Beltane, and then Rand could be either, like he spots a fade on, that on the quarry road on the way to town, but this could also be maybe just a raven or something. Maybe Rand doesn't see a fade on the road in the show because, they're going to change a lot. And if everyone's seeing fades around, they might not be as prepared for a party like we've seen in some of the footage. So maybe nobody sees a fade that early, but maybe Rand is disconcerted by this raven or this crow or something. Yeah, that's where I think that is.
I am thinking, and it's the angle of so the fade that is spotted when they go down the quarry road to take in the brandy. And obviously there's not going to be a going and coming back and all of that, and Rand tripping over a root. He walked with an arrow knocked in his bow.
That's true.
But he never got it. He never got to the point of actually drawing it. What we do know is Rand does shoot a raven out of the sky when they are in that period of the great apple cart stretch. That he pulls and draws an arrow and takes a raven right out of the sky. I can't remember exactly what point. I think this is him taking out a raven. For the spies of the Dark One are all over.
Okay.
Right, because that's in the next shot. You can see him with the arrow pulled. So he is actually going to shoot at something. Yeah. All right.
Okay.
And the fact that it's pointing up, that kind of discounts, because the other option would be that it was part of the festivities of Beltane is they have like archery competitions and whatnot. But they would be shooting at targets that are eye level. I don't know about shooting up into the sky. So
look, there could be clay pigeons that they flicking up.
Very well.
Out. I mean, this is an extreme archery competition, and Cam always wins it. We know he does it, and he gets sweet talk round about the void. But yeah, I'm probably going on him taking out a raven. That's my $2.
That quarry road could also switch back. Like if you see that the quarry cliff face up above Eamon's Field, like we do right in the beginning, it could be coming back, and Rand could be looking back up the cliff at like a previous section of the road that's busy coming down, and there could be someone up there, sort of like watching him. But I don't know if you would draw an arrow at a person. That's very aggressive. No matter how ominous that person looks. Yes. Person. Well, talking about
using
ominous,
that word very liberally.
Person and ominous. Let's go to the next shot where there is a person in an ominous situation holding a particular dagger. There we've got Matt, I assume, in Shadow Logoth. And with the light coming through, it's still maybe daytime where they are, or there could be moonlight. Who knows?
We definitely know this is Matt and the dagger. There's no ways around it.
I was being
Matt
coy.
Holding a dagger with a ruby. So is this him being at a later stage infatuated with the dagger, and the dagger and its taint already working on him? Because in the books, when he gets the dagger, he literally snatches it. They run from Mordeth to get out of there, and all hell breaks loose and they get separated. But I
don't think we're going to see Mordeth.
You think it's going to be cut?
I don't think we're going to see Mordeth.
No,
it's too weird. It's too odd. Doesn't fit with the rest of the book either.
Yeah,
I think that Matt just finds the dagger here. He's not doesn't have a conversation. He just finds it, and then that's afterwards is when Mashadar comes to.
Maybe that triggers it. Like maybe Matt takes the dagger, and then the blackness starts coming out.
Very, very possibly. Could very well be, because that would be a good lead in for non-readers to this evil is attached to this object, and him finding and taking this object releases that very evil again. So that could very well work. We do have a later scene where they're sitting down, and it's Matt, and it looks like either Rand or Perrin. I can't remember exactly now. And the scenery looks very similar to that. And in that scene, it's also daytime, where the whole Shadow Logoth book arena plays off at night. They get there with sunset, and they leave pretty much in the night again as well.
Yeah. So, never a moment's rest for these poor bastards.
Yeah. Well, that's basically. And then we have that scene of the three of them, Rand and Perrin and Egwene, at night in Shadow Logoth, and we can see that Mashadar is now like just a blackness and not quite foggy as it used to be in the books.
Yeah,
which I'm cool with.
Me too.
I think it looks
even
really
more
good.
ominous.
Yeah, there's that word again.
I must say, I really hoped it's going to be like black smoke in Lost. The black smoke coming to get them, but this works.
Smoke monster.
It works. It's going to get it. Have you guys noticed Rand's sword there? He's got Pam's sword on him, which is quite cool, which means this is them then after they got back from their little step away adventure to Moiraine, and Lan has already gone out looking for them in Shadow Logoth, and they had to get ready. Lan had come back and said, Trolloc signs everywhere, we got to go. We got to go.
I don't think in the show that everyone goes on a little adventure. I think Matt goes off on his own and he finds the dagger, and he triggers the Mashadar thing, because here's Rand, Perrin, and Egwene, no Matt, and hey, what's going on with that shadow? That statue looks weird. Let's step away from it.
Indeed. Yeah, that could be as well. Get rid of Mordeth completely and just have, because Matt's not in that shot, in the previous shot where he has the dagger, he's by himself. So he's gone off and stuffed everything up for everyone else. Thanks, Matt.
I bet.
Yeah, that's in character. And then we have that wall in the next shot that we were talking about earlier that kind of identifies the city, and then them running up to the top of the wall, and you could see the shadow climbing up through the city. And I suppose when they escape, they jump off the wall into the river. Maybe that's how they get away.
Maybe that's a big jump.
Yeah,
that's a pretty big jump. But I thought the same thing, that hey man, she just jumped. She got pushed off a cliff, so
she got
experience.
This is nothing.
But yeah, also here already, Perrin and Egwene together.
Yes,
the separation has happened.
All right. So, should we move on to the next shot? Then we've got Matt in front of what appears to be a dead Aiel in a cage. Now, I mean, everyone that I've heard about and things I've read and things I've seen, we're going Aiel. But I'm wondering if this is not just some big red herring for us to chase. What do you guys think?
What's
Got red hair.
A red hair ring.
red hair?
You see, that's fine. It's
proof. We've said enough. Move on. It's done. It's a nail.
For me, there's some things that point to it being Aiel, some things that don't. What I just can't figure out, for me, the bigger mystery is like, where would this be?
Yeah. So it could, like, the background behind the Aiel, the dead Aielman, we've got a stone wall. Is that a cliff or is it a wall? Is it like a city wall? Is it just?
I think it's a cliff.
Yeah.
I think it's a natural cliff.
So on their travel somewhere, they find this as a warning to other Aiel, like, don't come here.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. But yeah, I mean, I think
Aldara?
the real reason I don't want it to be an Aiel is because I don't want to admit that the Aiel are even mortal. You know?
Yeah.
What arrows? 4 arrows. That shouldn't kill an Aiel.
Nope. They should have missed him. He would have been able to dodge them in the first place.
Catch them or dodge them, like, yeah.
He was put in the cage alive, and the arrows hit him while he was in the cage. That's for sure.
Probably.
Yeah, that's how they did it.
Billy, you said Feldara. I've heard people say that it could be in Feldara because we know the Shinarans and the Aiel don't see eye to eye, so it wouldn't be. But I mean, I also like to think that the Shinarans have a bit more honor than, putting a guy in a cage and then shooting him with arrows.
They're all about
honor. Shinaran to me.
Yeah, that does go against there. But Uno is also full of it. So,
well, he's still honorable. He's an angry, honorable man.
Angry, a foul mouth. Yeah.
Which he tries very hard to hide around Moraine. So let's give him some credit.
Yeah, you're confusing him with
the efforts of not swearing.
Yeah, confusing him with Messima. That's a different story.
Oh, that loon.
That loon. And then we jump into the next shot of a growling wolf. And of course, it's Hopper. There's no discussion about this. Has to be, or it could, no, I'm joking. It could be any old wolf. Or even a mastiff. You'll never know.
Darkhound? Sorry, that's a joke for our podcast listeners.
Yeah, no, you have to go listen to all of our podcasts.
Is that a mastiff, Jody, or is it a darkhound? What is that?
No, it's definitely a wolf. This one is unmistakable because in the next shot, we've got Perrin looking startled, but not running away. Maybe because the wolf is already speaking to him. I wonder if Elias is even going to be in the show.
Yeah, who knows? I really hope he is. Hey, like,
if
someone to help usher Perrin into that world. Like Perrin can't just go, "Oh, I can talk to wolves now." Great,
cool.
He needs someone to explain to him what's going on. Otherwise, Perrin would probably think he's going insane.
There's a lot of memes going around Twitter with these scenes with Perrin and the wolf, and it's a bit of a lull. It's worth having a dive through. There's dedicated accounts to memes for the Wheel of Time. It's I spent a lot of time laughing at it the other day. Eat the Snickers, Perrin. And eventually he does. Yellow eyes.
All right. Let's skip to the next one. Ooh, sexy time with Rand and Egwene. Yeah, so obviously they've aged up the characters in the show. We know about this. So they would have, they would be a bit further along in their relationship. Maybe they're already a couple, or maybe this is the first time. I don't know. But they look super comfortable together. They look like they have a history together. And here they are post-coitus in some dark room somewhere. Now, Moritz, I know you think that this is the wine spring. Lay your evidence before us, please.
It just, that was my first feeling. There's not a lot of room in the story timeline for Rand and Egwene to sort of still be real, cozy. It's pretty early on they start sort of, going their separate ways. A lot of the promo materials also of Egwene looking like pointedly away from Rand, even in
Yes.
this shot it happens.
Yeah.
But then there's other stuff like the chandeliers look the same. The windows in the background look the same as they do in the other shots of the Wine Spring Inn. In fact, this, you can see there's like this wood at the bottom of the shot with a couple of flames. It's almost like the shot is from within the fireplace, and you can see a fireplace made of the same type of stone in the Wine Spring Inn when the camera faces in the other direction. Egwene's family lives in the Wine Spring Inn. I don't know if everyone's out having festivities and these two sort of, maybe they had a little tryst in one of the bedrooms or Egwene's bedroom and came downstairs after the fact. I don't know. There's just like a couple of little hints that it is a weird place for them to be so exposed. But just the trappings of the room immediately made me think it's the Wine Spring Inn. It's even got the columns in the background, like those carved things. It all fits the layout.
Yeah, look, I hear what you're saying, and I think that you're right. It's just so bizarre for them to be half naked in her dad's common room. Just, I don't know. That's a bit risky, guys.
Yeah, the door to outside is right there.
This could potentially just be upstairs. Same furnishing, same materials. It's the same building, but
the
it's
VIP
the
lounge.
Upstairs, the VIP lounge. Of course, the inn's personal VIP lounge. But yes, Mark's definitely looking at the props. It does tie in with the inn. So I didn't think at first until we had the discussion, and it pointed out that a lot of the small villages that they travel through together is cut out of it. So it doesn't give them that opportunity. And it also puts them already sort of not this developing love story that they are a couple. And then whatever happens, happens.
Yeah, because that's in that next shot as well.
Yeah, maybe in this scene they get busted by someone. Like maybe someone actually does walk in on them and they're like, oh, oops.
Yeah, well, the odds are high that that'll happen if you've got the door open and you're in the fucking common room. What do you expect? Yeah, so they got that next shot of Egwene looking away, like you said, Moritz. There's a lot of promo information as well of her kind of like looking away. She's already starting to drift away from him. And her hair is in a braid here. So it's kind of like she's already been accepted. Now she realizes there's a new part of her life that she wants to explore. And Rand isn't part of it.
Maybe this is where they are when the Trollocs attack. This is later that evening after she's walked in. It's the town. Maybe everyone's outside in the village green. That's why there's no one in the inn. Like maybe everyone is out busy with the festivities of Winter's Night. But again, in this shot, you see the colored windows in the small squares in the background that look exactly like the windows from the earlier scene with the three boys.
Yeah, could be. Still a bit risky, but we can just have to watch and find out. And then we jump over
that's
to
just their thing. Don't kink shame.
I won't. All right, so we jump over then to Shadow Logoth again. We got Perrin and Matt sitting there against the column. The light is shining through, so it's still daytime. You can see that Matt is bored of his face. So this is probably where the shenanigans begin.
This is just before he goes out exploring and pilfering cursed daggers.
Definitely. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I can't add much onto there. We pretty much summed that one up. The only thing is we've already established that there are scenes in the daylight that they go there, as opposed to it being nighttime the whole way through, which plays into that scene of him finding the dagger. We assume him finding the dagger. So yeah, and I mean, it looks absolutely run down and old.
Yeah,
it's like the wear of it, the dust of it, the ceiling have started falling down. So all on the floor, you've got part of the ceiling plaster of a domed ceiling that was plastered.
No furniture
down. No furniture. They've all fallen to dust. No tapestries.
In the background, is that Lan bending over Moraine?
You must have a clearer image than I do.
There's a
good
huge
pointing out.
arch. There's a huge archway there, and at the foot of the right, sort of, like where the door frame would be, there's a dark mass that looks like it has a sword sticking out over its shoulder. It looks like Lan sort of bending over someone that's lying on their back. And I mean, if Moraine was injured coming into Shadow Logoth from that attack that we spoke about, Vinny, then it being daytime doesn't really matter. She's injured. They need to stop somewhere so they can see to Moraine. So if she's
Yeah.
not just tired from the fight, they might be more desperate, and Nynaeve might have to apply her herbal remedies like she does in the book as well, before they can travel on.
Well, that's a good spot.
That's a very good spot.
All right.
Good on you.
You heard it first.
Thanks.
Yeah, on Blood and Ashes. Yeah, so we jump over to the next clip here. We've got old Tam, Al Thor, Rand's daddy,
I
giving
was
a
waiting
very...
to see if you introduce him as Roose Bolton or as Tam.
I've got to stop doing that because it's really going to ruin it for me. Such an iconic actor from another fantasy show, now playing such an awesome guy, going from a bloody Bolton to an Al Thor. That's a huge step up in your career. So yeah, he's giving some emotional speech about the wheel keeping on turning. Maybe, I mean, this is obviously speaking to his dad before they leave the Two Rivers. Maybe he's talking about, maybe Egwene has already told him that, look, this is not going to work for me. We need to break up. And he's, consoling his son,
Maybe Tam makes it out of Winternight completely unscathed. Rand realizes he has to go because of what Moraine and Lan are saying. Tam has a speech with Rand saying, look, I know some things about the world. Don't trust this Aes Sedai, but in this instance, she is making sense. There are too many things happening. We've just been attacked by Trollocs and Madral, right? Like, shit is happening here. Take this sword, go with them. Good luck.
Yeah.
I'm going to veer away from it being an attack because his hair is nicely brushed. His face is nice and clean. You would imagine Tam being the swordsman and the legend that he is. He would be in the thick of it. He would be completely busted up. And as much is in the books after the attack, they are all, hobbling and bruised. And Master Luan sort of knuckles rapping. And, this doesn't look post a Trolloc mashup.
I don't think necessarily this shot is that. I think that the speech and the sort of sequence of events is Tam is okay. Also, Tam wouldn't have had, if the attack is in the village, Tam wouldn't have had his sword with him.
Yeah.
Tam doesn't travel with his sword all the time. So he would he would be probably more scuffed up, like you said, because he would have to fight with other things that he could get his hands on.
Well, a hammer and a hoe and a
bow.
They would have bows.
Yeah, he'd be getting multi-kills and kill streaks with his bow. He is a skilled bowman.
Indeed.
I like this casting, Joe. Like, I don't see Roose Bolton at all when I look at Tam. When I look at this shot, I see a dude with gravitas.
Yes.
I see a guy with conveying a lot of emotion in a single photograph. With in this section of the trailer as well, a really cool voice saying some cool shits.
No, I hear you. It could also be him giving like a eulogy after they've buried the dead after the attack or something. Yes, he has got teary eyes and he seems very emotional.
Might be having a conversation with Rand after Moraine has arrived and the attack hasn't happened. Like just a quiet moment with his son on winter night, like, let's see. This is so exciting. Like, where are these new things going to happen?
This could also be him meeting up with Bran, and they are discussing the brandy that he brought, saying that it's not a great year. The winter has been long. The brandy is not as strong. But the wheel keeps turning, and I'll keep on stoking my brandy.
Just like the wheel of time, my wagon wheels will continue to turn as I cart my brandy to your end.
Talking about wheels.
Joe, your segues are on point.
My segue. Talking about wheels. Next shot, we see them dancing. So I imagine now the things I've heard is this could be Tinkers or it could be Beltane. But with the tables around there, it looks like this is the village square or the village green, and they're doing the traditional winter night dance and then the Trollocs attack while everybody is out here in the midst of party mode.
Also, this large cleared space on the dirt is much more reminiscent of like the town center than, you know, a tinker encampment in nature, you know.
Yeah, could very well be. We follow this circular theme onto the next shot, which is the Aes Sedai, which we assume is after the attack on the party that's transporting Logain, because there are a lot of bodies.
That's my theory.
Yeah. Who can we see there in the middle? The Aes Sedai, is that we got a blonde one, so that must be Leandrin.
Mm-hmm. You see all the reds. You see Moraine
Mm.
and only 3 greens, you know, supporting the theory that Karine is dead. There's one person standing sort of between 2 of the graves at like 6 o'clock and 8 o'clock, or 6 o'clock and 7 o'clock down there. Like sort of, you've got warders standing along the edge and Nynaeve on the far right. And then one of the warders standing next to one of the graves. That could be Stepan standing next to Karine's grave. All the graves have little candles on them. All the Aes Sedai are holding candles, fire in front of Stepan's face when he's kissing the ring in the previous shot. You know, it's all very funeral. I mean, this is obviously a burial. But I think it is after that attack, and I think it is when Karine is killed.
Possibly. The only thing that, sorry, Joe, that I will point out is the scene where Stepan kisses the ring. There, he is wearing white, whereas there's no white being worn by anyone there.
No.
So it's yes, definitely. I do believe it's after the attack. It does make sense and plays out. But again, you have a bunch of Aes Sedai there that can probably now make a massive fire of that area to cremate the body. So, hey, we'll see how it plays out.
Also, the snowy ground and stuff looks like that part of the trailer. There's a section later again where we see men coming and land fighting them, and it sort of looks like that surroundings.
Yeah. I'm on board with that. Then we move into this next shot, which we continue with a circle motif. And we got that aerial view looking down on that same scene we saw earlier with Moraine in front of and we see Swan there moving to her massive chair or throne or whatever. And then what you mentioned as well, her seat. Talking about seats, on the left, there's an open seat.
From
Karine
the greens.
Scenes. Yes, exactly. So someone is missing, which all but confirms our wondrous theories.
I think she was like, what do we call her? Like the battle commander or something. She's got a rank as like the general of the Green Archer. She is like the one to lead the armed forces. So it would make sense for her to have a seat in the hall to be a sitter.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then we jump to that image of the Fade on the back of the horse, I assume. Coming into Emmonsfield, this is probably them approaching before the attack.
Could be any number of fades.
Doing any number of things.
Any number of forests.
This Fade's going to visit his grandma.
I can tell you what I do want this to be. The first time that Rand sees the Fade going down the quarry road.
This is nighttime.
Sort of, the lighting.
Yeah, that was also early in the morning. When they were moving, so but probably not, but that's what I would love it to be, but probably not.
Oh well, we can have a look at that. We can dream, we can all dream. And the next shot is Lan being held hostage by what the consensus seems to be Nynaeve.
Mostly because of the line he says here, right? The Dark One is coming for your friends.
Yeah.
And which friend of the Emmonsfielders would be sort of like seemingly getting the drop on Lan. You know, our skilled woodswoman Nynaeve has repeatedly bested Lan in that arena. So and like from the cuff on her cloak, it looks like it could be that sort of like woolly protrusion that we see on Nynaeve's traveling clothes.
Yeah. So this is probably after they get separated and she finds Moraine and Lan in the woods there and sneaks up on them.
Yes.
Or it's when Nynaeve catches up to them before Shadow Logoth.
Yeah, so that's the one I'm talking about. Before Shadow Logoth. Okay.
Maybe, who knows what they do in the show, but maybe the group gets split up and Nynaeve only catches up with Lan and Moraine, or Nynaeve catches up with the whole group meeting up with Lan first before he takes her into the camp with all of them.
Could be any one of those.
All right. Well, yeah, as we know, more speculation. Then we can jump to that next clip where we have the fade on his horse with that skull on the horse's head. This is insane with the Trolloc army. Now, in the original image in the clip, you don't really see much, but if you lighten it up, then you can see a whole bunch of Trollocs and all their glory. They are insane. And this is a homage to the Chuck Dixon artwork from the New Spring graphic novel, where there's a scene exactly like this, where a Trolloc is leading the Fade is leading the Trolloc army through the snow. And I think they did that on purpose because they do that a lot in film and other media.
That's a rad image, that graphic novel image.
It is.
The second I saw this, I went, I know that image. I know this shot. They've done it before. Zack Snyder did it in Batman v Superman. He took, he filmed images and scenes straight out of the graphic novel. So I think this is something similar to that as well.
Cool.
All right. Then we have another scene of Matt and Rand running away through a town. I don't know. Like, my first thought about this was it's in Emmonsfield and they've just released that badger that they were talking about earlier. And they're on the lam. But there are other theories out there. And I don't know. What do you guys think?
Any honey cake theories?
Any honey cakes? No, none in this. None in this scene.
This doesn't look like Emmonsfield to me. All the buildings are too close together. It seems too cramped.
And also, if you look at the end of this, there's somebody chasing them.
Yes.
Which we don't get a clear view of.
Not at all. The dusty wheel, they've tried to unblur it.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. It looks like a woman. And I'm going to say they stole some honey cakes and they're being chased down.
Yeah, it could be on there when they split up and they're on their own missioning to try and meet up with everybody in Camelin.
Yeah, it could be when, the two of them are traveling by themselves and they've stolen food out of necessity or something.
Yes.
Rand would have had his coat on, though.
What if they're staying somewhere?
Yeah.
I guess maybe.
His coat and his sword
on the apple cart.
You forgot it on an apple cart somewhere along the line.
The scene that this actually fits the most closely with, for me, is when they antagonize the White Cloaks in Baerlon. So if they were staying in an inn like they were in Baerlon, Rand would not have his coat and his sword and everything with him necessarily. There is a bit of white in that image of the person that is chasing them. We know that Rand gets all cocky with them, and Matt does the slingshot to, up in the barrels that splash mud on the White Cloaks and all that sort of stuff.
Love that.
That's the closest analog from the books that I can think of.
Well, there's mud around in the streets there, so that does track.
Yeah.
Maybe we see Baerlon, or like a combination of Baerlon and a couple of other places into like a town that they stay in on their way out.
Yeah, I think they're going to condense all those towns in that apple carting.
Please,
please, no apple carting.
As little as few as possible.
Change the source material. Yes,
the fans are pleading for it.
Yes,
uncharacteristically. Then we jump into that next shot. Guys running through the forest. Now, my first thought was these are warders, but they look a bunch of rabble. They could actually be the Dragonsworn that are attacking and trying to free Logain.
I mean, Lan is straight up fighting these guys in another shot.
Well, there you go then.
Pretty sure these are the guys that are attacking at the time that Leandrin and Kareen are holding Logain in a cave, or wherever they are camped out in a tent or something. And then the other warders and Lan and Nynaeve that we see and Alana stop the arrows and that sort of stuff. I think this is immediately after that. I think they fire the arrows at them and Alana stops them, and then these guys attack and they fight them off.
Yeah, they figure arrows are not going to work.
No, and then these gentlemen you see in front of you end up in those circular graves.
Every last one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. On that next scene, we actually see they Lan attacking or fighting this random dude. Dead man.
Yeah.
Dead man walking.
Yep.
And then in the next shot, we've got a close-up of Logain's face, and he looks like a man not to be trifled with.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is what Billy, you were talking about the
Yes. Now
Yeah.
look at the harshness of the flow that's coming, or the whatever he's channeling. But it's not smooth like what we see with Moraine. There's harshness to it. There's sharp angles to it. It looks tainted. It looks like oil on water. It would look if it's stirred. It would want to come together, but it's separated. And there's very much a reference to the taint being like a slick of oil.
Yeah.
So if you were to do a shot of through water up through oil that floats on it, and you were to stir it, you'd have that sort of visual representation of the bubbles of the oil coming together again. And that's what it looks like to me. So it's,
but is
I
this
feel
him
that
channeling?
visually they've, well, this is just prior to him throwing off that power that kills Alana.
The other one, Kareen.
Kareen, sorry. It's just before that event. So it's he's channeling at that point in time is what I'd say. And
well, he's shielded at this
he
point
looks
in time.
badass.
Yeah. He does look badass.
If we look at that next shot, that's him shielded and breaking through
the shield.
The shield with, who is that? Is that Leandrin?
Leandrin and Kareen.
And Kareen that are shielding him, but they are not strong enough, it would seem.
Something must happen.
Yeah. Maybe this is a distraction with the attack outside or something like that.
Maybe this is just a Black Archer plot. It might be written into the story now. I mean,
well, notably, it's not Leandrin that dies.
Yes,
it's not Leandrin that dies in this escape.
Yep.
I mean, I say escape, but there's another shot coming up which might cast some doubt over that. My gut feel is that Logain gets away. I don't know why, but maybe just because we don't see him also being presented to the Amelin or anything.
Yeah. Let the Lord of Chaos rule. Maybe that's the...
Also, in that shot of all the Aes Sedai standing in those graves, there's no one off somewhere else actively shielding him.
Yeah.
Logain's not there.
Yeah. Everyone's accounted for. And then the rest are in body bags. And then that next shot is Kareen flying through the air, right?
Yes, and hitting that stone column.
Which is the end of Kareen then in this situation.
It seems like, judging from these snippets.
Yeah. Based on our wild speculation of these quarter of a second snippets, this is exactly what is happening.
Yes, yes.
So she passes on. And then we jump to the hall again, the White Tower, with Moraine apparently exiting that previous scene that we've seen now, because I see the sisters behind her have their backs turned. So
those seem to be the Browns with their backs turned to her, facing toward their seat away from the hall. These other Aes Sedai outside the door are the ones that were standing next to her. So maybe they sent out first and Moraine is left over. And I'm wondering if Swan asks the sitters to turn around and then weaves like a shield around just them so they can have a conversation just by themselves. And then, why the pretense of why are the sitters facing the wrong way?
I think maybe it's a ceremonial, we turn our backs on you, you're excommunicado or something along those lines for her role in losing Logain.
Which would imply some very serious repercussions.
She's going to go work on a farm somewhere.
Maybe that's what Swan says, and then she just goes off and does the rest of the journey. Penance, but I mean, I'll see your penance. Maybe I'll raise you Faldara and the Eye of the World in the blight.
Probably.
I love how regal she looks.
Yes.
Great costume. It's good.
With her little gem.
Yeah. And then we jump to the next scene where we've got this silhouette of Trollocs. Very blurry, very what the hell is this? Definitely Trollocs. I'm looking to the right there. There seems to be roof tiles. Maybe this is the attack that night on Ernest Field. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And there's fires behind them or something, and that's why we get this kind of color.
That seems to fit for me. That definitely looks like those sort of slate looking or whatever roof tile looking.
That's not thatch.
It's not thatch. Imagine how that would have burnt.
That's probably why.
Yeah.
And then we have this other scene again. I think we're back with the attack. This is in the distance. You can kind of see the Aes Sedai from the previous shot with Lan protecting Nynaeve. I think that's them.
Yes. It's clearly the same clearing that they sort of were standing in when they stopped the arrows. And I think the gentleman on the far right of the shot is the one that Lan punches in the face or slashes in that other stall with his multicolored hat.
At this moment, he doesn't know how little he has left to live.
Nope. Oh, look at him, young and full of dreams.
Just
yes,
great costume design on everything. Even throwaway characters that's just going to run into a scene to die. It was money well spent.
Yeah. It looks like stuff thrown together. They don't have a uniform or anything.
Yeah, they rabble.
Yeah, this is what was picked up through all the villages as he went along, gathering his followers. No, for sure. And then we have this shot, another beautiful shot of Nynaeve and Egwene, with Nynaeve in that protective stance with her knife out, but Egwene's face, man. Wow.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Possibly staring down that wall of Trollocs.
Yeah. This is my town. Get out.
I'll stab you.
Yeah. Because it does look the same slate roof tiles in the background.
Yeah.
And then the next shot, we get a much clearer shot of Loghain being shielded in this cave area there.
So, in this shot, Kareen is on the ground back there.
Yes.
Loghain is shielded again. And Stepan is in some, like blood rage, after his Aes Sedai has either been injured or killed. Moiraine seems to be channeling. There's something there seem to be some flows emanating from her. Maybe she's the one that is now shielding Loghain. Again, no sign of Leandrin. But this is the scene that made me think, like, I don't know if Loghain gets away or not. So like the grave scene, he's not there. No one is actively shielding him. But here, this seems to be post the breakout event. And Moiraine or someone is actively shielding him. Yeah. So who knows what's going to happen there?
Theory time. In the first shot that we see, Loghain is still in his cage.
Yes.
The very same cage that's in that photograph that was released of him sitting and him being shielded. Now, we are wondering why the Aes Sedai, the sitters, have their backs turned to Moiraine. And if she had stilled him here or done something of the sort, which can explain why the other people can be at that burial, it also gives them a reason to, have some form of penance or something against a dishonorable type of thing for her to then, in quote unquote, go rogue of the tower. So she could have said, okay, you are too dangerous. I'm going to cut you off from Sidon and you are done. And then bring him back to the tower already stilled.
Gentled.
And then, or gentled, you're right. That he then, thank you.
Mr. Pedantry over here.
Mr. Pedantry is on cue. But yes, that could play in the development of what they're doing here, instead of it being so drawn out, sort of, gives them a reason to kick her out of the tower, if you want to call it that. And it gives them a reason for him to be sort of safer moved, and him already, because I assume he breaks that cage in that moment. Like he absolutely shatters it, and you can see the ground is kind of messed up. There's shrapnel everywhere, and he is clearly not in a cage. So
that fits well.
Yes, I think that
if Moiraine gentled him here, that would be a great reason.
He's correcting you incorrectly.
Damn it. If Moiraine gentled him here, or the other Aes Sedai, but probably if Moiraine gentled him here, then it would, like you said, be a good reason for Swan and the sitters to turn their backs on Moiraine, because she was in violation of tower law. They're not supposed to do that.
Absolutely.
And it would also explain why no one would have to be shielding him at that gravesite.
That's right. Ooh, new theories abound. Well, then we got another shot of Lan I think the same windows of the wine spring in behind. That's what I see. And
yeah, this is
blood
Emansfield.
splattering off his blade as he disembowels some Trollocs. Yeah, very, very cool shot. There seems to be, I think in the scene as well, you see Moraine actually push him with the 1 power. Actually pushes him into the Trollocs so that he can make up some more ground. Like they're working as a team.
All their fighting seems highly coordinated.
And would be.
A dance, one would say.
Yes.
If one were Aiel.
Soon enough. All right. And then we jump onto this next scene of what is controversially a waygate. No one's headcanon would have said this as a waygate, but there it is. We get it. All right. And we have in the foreground, who would we have in the foreground there? Lan? I think
Egwene.
Lan, Egwene, Rand, Matt.
All right. And who's waiting there at the waygate for them?
Moraine standing with
next to Aldib.
Yeah.
The very large figure I'm going to say is Loyal.
Has to
because you cannot go into the ways without him. It's an impossibility.
Indeed.
Although that would more resemble a portal stone for me.
Yeah.
I saw that and I said portal stone, but if that's the way that they want to make a waygate look, it's the way that they're going to do it. And as long as the ways are as scary as
is that very scary? Yeah.
Now, we are assuming that they are going to show the inside of the ways.
Yeah.
It would be an absolute travesty if they omit the ways. But if it isn't the ways like we know them from the books, you don't need Loyal.
No.
But he's casted.
He is. I mean, Loyal's in the story. We know that. I just mean like he doesn't have to be here because they're going into the waygate if the waygates function like the portal stones. Because there's a lot of talk of them maybe combining those two concepts into one because it doesn't look like a portal stone or a waygate. A portal stone is a column. You know, it's not this shape in a waygate. I mean, it's Ogier made. This doesn't look Ogier made. It doesn't even have a carving on it, where the waygates have carvings on them that move when you remove the leaf, the key leaf. The carvings move on the stone and everything. It's quite clearly quite an intricate sort of design and stuff. And this doesn't look anything like it. The ways are a thing of the Ogier, and this does not look Ogier built, even less so than, you know, the Tarvalon shots and stuff that we saw. But that looks like a very large person on a horse. Yeah. And if you look closely, it actually looks like there's a person standing next to it.
Yes, that's right.
Yes.
And then in this specific still that we're looking at right now, there's also actually another person behind Egwene on a horse. There's another person back there.
Ooh, Min? I don't know.
Nynaeve.
Is that
Nynaeve is not accounted for?
All right.
So Perrin, Nynaeve, Moiraine, possibly Loyal, Tom.
Tom has to come in somewhere along the line.
No Tom in this trailer whatsoever.
None.
Or Loyal.
Yeah. I suppose we'll get that in the next trailer.
We will.
We will. So let's jump to the next shot. Again, we're back in Emansfield. A lot of jumping around. And here we have that fade, what we assume to be a fade entering the town, purely because the shot is very, the way it's composed immediately makes you think danger. Because, I mean, Moraine does also enter with a cloak on and hooded. At night. But I think she would be in a shot with Lan, I imagine, because they would be traveling together. So, thoughts on that?
Lan is already there. He's standing there next to the smithy in his color shifting cloak, invisible to the watcher's eye. Yes.
Yep.
He is there. He's just invisible.
That cloak looks far too nicely made to be the garb of an evil fade. So I'm going to go with Moiraine.
Yeah, I mean, could the horse beneath that cloak be white?
It could. I mean, it is a dark night and it's full of mud. The horse ran in the mud on the way through the rain. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, whoever it is, it's heading straight for the wine spring.
As a player of Red Dead Redemption for a very long time, I spend a lot of time grooming and brushing mud off my horse. So,
of course, 90% of that game.
Also, what makes you think that it's a fade is the very next shot of a fade. With what do you guys think of this design? I can't say I'm a
Fadiest
fan.
fade you've ever faded.
Oh, it is so scary.
Yeah,
It
no,
is
there's
so
no doubt.
scary.
I'm a big fan. I like it.
Yeah.
I saw Nablis also talking about this on one of his breakdown videos, and I agree with him in the sense that I want them to play up the horror elements of the show, of which there are many, which is why I think it would also be a tragedy if we don't see the ways. But I like the horror aspect here. And the only thing I would say that Nablis also said was I would hope that you at least get to hear a Fade speak.
Yeah.
That they're not just these dumb, evil creatures, but they can actually speak and be, devious.
Yeah. Maybe that what the sound of their voices, what snakes slithering over dry
Rotting
leaves.
leather, all that stuff.
All that gross
Filth
shit.
stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I
think
like
So do
this.
we
Yeah, I think
reckon this is Son of Nog?
Paleface Noxon.
Yes, Paleface Noxon. It's definitely him.
I like the fact that, we know that they don't have eyes, but they've gone a step further and like taken away the nose as well completely. Like it's losing its humanity in this adaptation.
And it's like a visual representation that their senses are different. Their senses are completely down to magic. Like no nose is required because I don't need to smell. No eyes is required because I don't need to see. And if we do see one without a hood on, I'd probably put that they don't have ears either. Yeah. Just that gaping, toothy mouth.
On a
maybe
big,
no
smooth, pale head. Yeah. Ooh, Villy. You're making me excited because I was not a fan when I first saw this. Very Voldemortish to me with sharpy teeth, that nose and eye area.
The nose thing, yeah.
Man,
yeah.
Voldemort lost against a bunch of kids. This guy is already one up on him.
Well, for sure. He does look awfully a lot like him, though. Yeah. And then we jump to another shot of the Trollocs going through Emersfield, I'm going to say. I don't know. Everything's on fire.
Battle. If my theory holds true of like most of the imagery coming from the first couple episodes, then which I haven't seen anything to the contrary yet.
Yeah.
Unless they don't actually make it to Tarvalon that early in the show. But yeah, who knows? Long story short, I think this is Emersfield.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
All right. And then we move on to this next shot of Emersfield and of Moraine kicking butt. And this is the scene I was talking about. You can see Lan doing a little tactical roll there as she pushes him with the one power into those Trollocs. Where are we here exactly? This is the wine spring behind them, yeah?
Yes. I reckon that's the inn. And the flows again coming out of the air, running on the ground, like where she's grabbing her power from. Clearly everything is messed up properly well. And what I would think as part of the books is they have their pole, their wedding pole that is got all strings and stuff that hang on it that they dance around. And that's what I think you're looking at behind her.
Maybe, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Looks like a pole with like streamers coming down to like a
streamers
ring
coming off it. And I think that is probably what that is at the back there.
All right. That would make sense. Because that next shot then leads into this shot of Lanby that's after he's done his little roll and comes up and stabs a Trolloc that's on
the
fire.
gut.
In the gut.
Yes.
That Trolloc is on fire. So she's going to be fireballing, lightning striking.
She said in her Q&A, someone asked her, what did she think of herself, seeing herself on screen channeling the power? And she thought it looked so badass. She wanted shots of herself shooting fireballs to show her kids, which is not in the trailer. So Rosamund's already given away that she will be throwing fireballs.
Awesome. I think that goes without saying.
Oh.
Yeah. It's got to be fire. There's a lot of fireballs in the books. A lot.
Yes. Walls of fire, fire erupting from the earth, fire.
Fire. And then that scene actually goes into this last image over here of Moraine with her arms outstretched. Look at those flows. It's beautiful. And this is where she's calling down the lightning, right?
Yes. Charging up her spirit bomb.
Yeah. Trollocs all around.
Yeah, we can see. And there's Lan as well standing behind her. Get out the way, Lan. You better give us some space.
Look sharp.
Which then, of course, that lightning then goes into the crescendo of the music and into the Wheel of Time logo. And November 19th. I can't bloody wait for November 19th.
Me neither.
Oh.
Me neither.
Logo is fantastic.
Love it.
Love it.
The snake eating itself, but in a spiral. The representation for me of it, the ongoing struggle. It's I love it. It is really, really cool.
It's certainly more slick than the traditional wheel with this sort of like infinity sign snake going through it, which feels a bit more clunky and cumbersome.
No, this is beautiful.
Yeah, big fan.
Other aspects. Let's get on to the other things.
Well, we've spoken a lot about the design, especially not character design, but clothing design and the sets and the props. Everything looks fantastic and top notch. The logo design, I don't know. We haven't seen much else. I hope that there's some Aes Sedai symbolism coming in there somewhere. We need some teardrops and some fangs and whatnot.
Haven't seen any, eh?
No.
It's interesting.
Yeah,
there's that when they teased the title card for the show the first time. It starts with just a single scale of that snake as it moves past the screen, and as it does, the shadow on it makes a perfect Aes Sedai symbol.
Yeah. So they're going to be sneaky about it.
But that's the only reference to that symbol I've ever seen in any of the material, photos, trailer, anything.
All right.
I think a part of it is also it is too like a yin yang.
Yeah.
And it being already in existence, very widely used, it kind of would have felt like a copy of something. Or they would have said, I'll just be original or something. So it would make sense for me to limit the use of it, not to tie into other mythologies and beliefs that is currently real in our world.
Agreed.
I hear you. That makes sense that they would have done that. Music.
That's the one I was waiting for.
Killer.
Wow. Like 10 out of 10.
11 out of 10.
I hear people say that it sounds sort of like generic action music, like the Marvel theme, or like, any action trailer has very similar orchestral treatment, but I disagree. I really, really like the music.
Yeah.
I am always on the lookout for specifically that phenomenon, but I didn't get a sense of that here. Like, I didn't get that sort of generic sound at all. I was super into it. In our very amateurish reaction video that we shot when it was 6 o'clock in the morning here, seconds into the trailer, I'm like, oh, this music is epic. And I stand by that.
No, for sure.
I am a massive fan of cinematic music, large orchestras, and a lot of the time that I sit and work, I listen to stuff that Hans Zimmer and the like make, whether it is, and you go through Inception, for those who've listened to the new Dune soundtrack that is already available to listen to, it is just, it feels like it's one of the greats that sat down and composed music for this. And it is every time I hear it, I get goosebumps. I get that reaction. It evokes strong emotion, and that's what you want.
Agreed.
Yeah, it's definitely topped some other fantasy series out there with their music.
Most others.
So we've covered we've covered aesthetics, we've covered design, we've covered CGI as well a little, and music. Anything else we've missed?
The ways. I would like to see the ways because it would be so easy to make an incredibly dark place with just a cobblestone road to go by. So you don't have to spend too much time in there. And I mean, Mash and Shin is not a very difficult thing to bring to life in a realm of darkness. So hopefully that will be in there. But I mean, we might have a good treat in a couple of weeks when the next trailer drops and we break that down and bring that to the fold. And
in another 5-hour video by Blood and Ashes.
Listen, we can't do anything short.
We tried.
We've tried often. It just doesn't work.
Yeah. So if you're a listener coming to watch us on YouTube, then no surprise, nothing new. If you are watching us for the first time on YouTube, then yeah, go check out our podcast. Blood and Ashes podcast.com is the website. I'll put the links in the description box below, and you will be able to go and visit our website, to follow us on Twitter. We're on Facebook as well, and then you can get a real sense of what a long episode is like with the three of us if you can sit through our inane ramblings for that long. Guys, anything else to add before we shut this down for today? No.
Well, from my side, I'm just super stoked that we are branching out in the other avenues. I might not be the most photogenic person to sit in front of a camera, but hell, we're talking about the Wheel of Time, and I've got a lot of time for that.
Yes, I agree. I mean, this is why we do what we do. We have a podcast, we have this, we're on social media. You can email us, we'll chat on we got Discord, we got everything, man. So we're happy to talk about it, as you can tell by this video. So yeah, join us again. Don't forget to like and subscribe and to click that notification bell so you can join us for our next extremely long video here on YouTube. Guys, thanks for making this possible. I don't know, it's probably late where you are. Go to bed. All of those things.
Only hitting 12 o'clock at night right now, so it's
perfect.
Early, some would say, in the morning.
It's early in the morning somewhere. All right, everybody. Cheers. Have a good one, guys.